this up. Trying to make sure I got this all set up just right. Let's get a little refresh going on here. Hopefully I have a couple, there we go. Awesome. We'll get this link out there. Alright, we'll do a little typing and I can help you all out here. Alright, let's see here. I know we got 2 watching now, so awesome. Hey Scott, how you doing? Sorry, my back's turned. I'm trying to get things set up. Give me just 1 second here. Alright. Can you hear me all right, Scott? Maybe. We'll see. Huh. Okay, well, let's see here. All right, well, hopefully the audio, no sound. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see what's happening here with the sound. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, hopefully you can hear me. Now, maybe? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, hopefully you can hear me. Now, maybe? Now, maybe? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, hopefully you can hear me. Now, maybe? Now? Weird. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, that was disconcerting that I have no sound because everything here shows weird. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, that was disconcerting that I have no sound because everything here shows weird. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, that was disconcerting that I have no sound here. Can you hear me now? 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 All right, that was disconcerting that I have no sound here. Can you hear me now? 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 All right, that was disconcerting that I have can you hear me now? 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 All right, that was disconcerting that I Well, honestly, I don't know, guys, what's going on. I don't know why why the volume is not working. really wish I could figure this out. I mean, the audio is working. All right. Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? Yes? No? All right. Does any of this working? All right. Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? Yes? No? Yes? No? All right. Does any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? Yes? No? Okay. So yes, you can hear me now then, right? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? Yes, no. Okay, so yes, you can hear me now then. All right. Does any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? Yes, no. Okay, so yes, you can hear me now then. All right. Does any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? Yes, no. All right. Yes, no. All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Yes, no. All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Yes, no. All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes, no. Any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes. No. Any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes. No. Any of this? All right. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes. No. Any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. Yes. No. Any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. Any of this? All right. Yes. Does any of this working? Does any of this working? Does anybody hear me? No. Does anybody hear me? No. Can anybody hear me? No. All right. That's the last microphone. So okay, so I just turned off the last microphone. So is it still getting all echoey or looping? Oh, does that mean good? Yes, okay. Jesus. All right. So the loop is gone, no echoes. Awesome. Okay. So far. Yay. All right. Not sure what that was about, but okay. Let me pull it up here. All right. So I'll try to answer questions, looking back and forth between the screens. I'm in the studio today, so craning my neck over, looking back and stuff like that is going to be a pain in the butt. So this week, I'm just going to be showing you guys some of the conversions I've already started on, and show you some of the converting process and kind of talk to you guys about some of the things that I go over when I'm planning an army like this. For those of you that are new to this, my name is John. I'm with FNP Wargamers. You probably know that since you're now on the channel watching it. So I made a mistake. This is why I'm here doing a 30-day challenge. Being a part of FNP Wargamers, I was not aware I was supposed to have a fully built and painted army to be able to do live streams or attend events, other like grand tournaments or majors, conventions, whatnot, to represent the brand. And so I sold my only painted army, and so now as penance, I have 30 days to put together a fully painted based army, and I think I can do it. We're going to find out. So for this, my design process, it was great timing, I think. Let's see. Oh, I'm getting to that. The 30-day challenge was mainly because, like I said, I screwed up and sold my army. I didn't have an army. So the timing was great because the Shadow Spear box came out. And for those not familiar with it, it was the newest Warhammer 40,000 box released that featured Primaris Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines. All new models. There was no... all the sculpts were unique. And it's been a while since they've done something like that. And so what I did is I bought, swapped, and traded 4 different boxes of Shadow Spear. So I've got 4 full sets of the Primaris Space Marines. And that's what I'm going to be doing for this challenge. It's coming out to 65 models that I've got to build, convert, base, and paint by the April 30th. It will be 2,000 points, James. So yeah, 2,000 points, 65 models, fully assembled, painted. There's going to be a couple things that I'm going to be waiting for near the end to do. I've got shoulder pads coming in. Thanks to the poll that I created online, we're doing Red Scorpions. And I've got an interesting technique. I'm going to wait and save this technique until, well, until the shoulder pads come in, which should be about about a week. And then I might have to do it in a 3-step process, but I'll get into that much later. And yeah, so I gotta wait for those parts. And the other thing I'm gonna wait for to the end is the basing. Normally, a lot of people like to do the basing up front. Part of this army, part of the problem with this army is that, or my armies in the past, usually really good paint jobs. At least that's what everybody tells me. I don't know if they're just stroking my ego or what. But one of the glaring issues I've had is very dull bases, because I don't care about the bases. I want the miniature to stand out. But I'm seeing in these painting contests that I've lost is that people are making these even just mediocre base, or a little bit of not mediocre bases. They've been putting some bling, like they work at Chachi's or TGI Fridays. They're putting flair and stuff on there that doesn't really make sense in some cases, but it helps make the model stand out. And I've known this for years, even after working for Games Workshop. So the thing I'm going to be doing is making some really awesome bases, and I'll get into that later. But you guys probably don't want to hear me ramble too much about that stuff. So one of the key things that I do whenever I set up an army is take a look at which army, what models are out there that catch my attention, and what I'll do is start thinking about movies and anime, comic books, books that I've read, and think about how I can take that cool looking army and modify it and kind of get that same feel. And luckily, the Shadow Spear box, these new Vanguard Primaris Marines, these guys are like commandos, Special Forces, MARSOC for you Marines, Navy SEAL, Delta Force, Green Berets, even SWAT. They all have that special operation team look and feel to them. They don't look like the brutal
trench fighters that like regular Space Marines or Primaris Space Marines have. So I decided I wanted to go with a very stealthy looking army. So a lot of the bases will look like that. They look like they're sabotaging like choke points or setting up tripwires. You'll see it all in the bases when I get to it. Let's see here. Yeah, Tyler, they're super aggro with the Red Scorpion. The Red Scorpions are. In the past, 7th edition, right before 8th edition came out, I think it was in 6th and 7th, maybe even 5th, I doubt it, but 6th and 7th, you could take Red Scorpions and you can get a free upgrade to where you have your sergeant becomes an apothecary. And that was huge because you can sit there, and at that time, apothecaries would give a 4-up feel no pain or 5-up feel no pain. And that was huge. That was a free upgrade, and then you can give the guy a combi weapon or a power fist or a combination. And then now all of a sudden you have this beat stick apothecary sergeant for no points. So that's another reason why I chose Red Scorpions, because if you have looked at the infiltrator squads that's in Shadowspear, they come with a guy called a Helix Adept. He's an upgrade. It's a little pricey. It's 32 points, but he has the opportunity to heal a wound, or if there's nobody that's wounded but you have a dead guy, he can basically run over there with shock paddles and resuscitate him, and now you got a model back up ready to fight. And that to me made it seem like that's very close to Red Scorpions. So, and since Red Scorpions don't have a current chapter tactic, you have to use Ultramarines. So I felt like that would work out pretty well. So that's pretty much the reason why I chose Red Scorpions. I really wanted to do Excoriators, but I think that might be after I do the my showcase army is going to be Slanesh with all those awesome new Slanesh models. The next army after that will be an Excoriator army. I want to do a white army with the battle damage. I really love the Legion of the Damned book, so I want to really do that army. And I'm probably going to cut myself at this. So that's kind of the background of why I made the choice for the army, and why I'm having to do it in 30 days. And so when I'm about to start a project, I'll hit up all my bits. I'll hit the bit bin at Atomic Hobby Shop, and I'll start asking people for bits. And you'll see some bits here on the screen that I'll be messing around with. I usually concentrate on pouches, grenades, little extra special weapons, just little knickknacks basically to fit onto my models to make them stand out a little bit more. So let me show you a couple models I've already started working on. This is day 3 of the 30-day challenge. I've got about half the models built, and a lot of these conversions, they're mainly just very simple conversions. They're head swaps. Head swaps are adding on a couple extra pouches, and in some cases it's I'm swapping out arms. I'll show you that. So this first one is a very simple conversion. Let's see if I can get it up on here. All right. So as you'll see here, this is the regular Infiltrator Marine. The only thing different that I did with the model, because I don't like the regular Infiltrator helmets. So what I did here was take the goggled helmet, and he's got like a neck gaiter for you military guys. He's got a neck gaiter. This is actually the head, the alternate head that goes on one of the Eliminators, which I'll be showing you a little later. All I did is, let's see if I've got one. Yeah, so here's the actual head bit. So what I had to do for these is I had to cut this round bulbous part and the little pin that goes inside of the regular body. Had to cut that out, smooth it out, and that's how I just simply socketed in there. It's a really simple conversion. These head swaps are probably one of the easiest things to do. Let's see. Just double checking where everybody's at. Okay. So I'm going to show you a couple more. Using that same head swap, but this model right here, this model is another infiltrator, and I'll show you, I'll see if I can grab the instructions. So you can see I went ahead and did another head swap, and it's that same head, so you're going to see this reoccurring throughout the Army per 10-man squad. So there'll be about 40 or 2, 4, 6, 8 of these guys with this head, but they'll be on different bodies. So something you'll see different with this model, and I'll show you when I'll grab the instructions, is this arm. This is straight from a Reaver, the Space Marine Reavers, or Primaris Reaver arms. All I did was just pop the arm right off the kit, and instead of putting on his alternate arm, this is the one that throws like the little smoke grenade. I didn't like the smoke grenade, thought it was kind of a silly design. So all I did was just pop it off. Actually, I didn't pop it off, I just left it off and simply did an arm swap. Once again, this is another minor conversion, and another tidbit. I'm not a fan of Rob Liefeld. Some of you guys will know him as like the creator of X-Force and Deadpool. He has a very bad tendency to just give people pouches for days. And I'm not trying to copy that, but these pouches, since these guys are like, they're commandos, and they're out there with very little supplies. They have to rely on their own resources and such to, they don't have supply lines, so they're going to be carrying a lot of gear with them. So you'll see me putting a lot of these pouches on these Marines. Now, another thing that I did is I didn't need 4 lieutenants. I only need 2 lieutenants. But since I had 4 boxes, I had 2 extra warm bodies. So I didn't like the way that the lieutenant looked. So one guy I'm going to have is my lieutenant, but I changed him up a little bit. So I'm going to show you this. And once again, this is another simple conversion. This is going to be a reoccurring theme, so get used to it. So you see right here, this head is, once again, not a standard head that comes with the Shadow Spear box. This is actually what one of the helmets look like if you bought the Primaris Reavers. They have either the helmet where you can have the skull face, or they have, it's kind of like a half mask where you have the skull part, and then the helmet is removed, so it's got the bare head. So it's a simple head swap. The other thing I did was add another snazzy pistol. This guy's a close combat fighter. They get some bonus attacks whenever they're in close combat. I think if they roll 6, their 1 attack becomes 2 attacks, or 2 hits. And back in the day, pistols used to count as a close combat weapon. So I just slapped on another pistol. You can see he's got another pistol on the other side. So he likes pistols instead of the knives. They gave him these really tiny, dinky knives, which is a little irritating because the Reavers, the captain, they all have these combat knives. So what's a little galling with Games Workshop's design process with this one is, why not, instead of giving this guy just like a little tiny butter knife, give him the big old combat knives that everybody else is getting. And if he's supposed to be a close combat fighter, give him a close combat weapon. So what I did, this is another simple minor conversion. This is an old school orc combat knife. And I liked it because it's very big and brutal looking. Kind of almost has that Rambo feel. And all I did with it was just clip off the lower part, the pommel, and part of the guard, just so it can slip over, so it looks kind of like he's got a little knuckle dusters on there. And then I just simply glued it on. I didn't bother pinning or anything like that. Something I'm thinking I'm doing is with Let's see if I can get it here. I'm thinking about using a little bit of green stuff and connecting this so it's a little bit more of a solid piece, because it makes a little bit more sense if he's going to go around and if when he's knife fighting somebody and he punches them with the knuckle part, it might be a good idea to have that connected. It would make more sense from a little bit more practical sense. So that's just another simple conversion. This is going to be one of my lieutenants. Monday, when I show the rest of the models, the other really good converted ones, I'll show you the other lieutenant. I'm really excited about that one. I meant to bring it today, but I forgot to. So sorry about that. Let's see here. Let's see. Yep, looting from orcs. It doesn't happen often. So the other lieutenant I did. Actually, I just took the lieutenant model because I ended up butchering another model for parts. So I needed another warm body to swap out. So I just took a simple lieutenant model. I put on this is an arm from the Reavers kits. That Reaver kit is going to probably be your best friend if you want bits. They probably has some of the coolest bits, pistols, masks, close combat weapons. So I simply just added on another arm. Instead of his, normally he has the bolter arm. Let me pull that one back over. Normally he would have that bolter arm, but I was like, nope, not going to do it. I wanted him to have the regular infiltrator bolter, because there's going to be that one guy out there, and you probably all encountered him before, that's going to complain like, well, he has the lieutenant's bolter, so he should be a lieutenant. He can't be a regular infiltrator. There's going to be that one guy. Thankfully, it's like less than 10% of the gaming populace is like that. Most of us I think are really cool. We're like, dude, cool. You got a conversion that looks like a lieutenant. He said he's an infiltrator. He's an infiltrator. So I didn't do anything else with this guy except give him an infiltrator arm, bolter arm from a different model, the one I butchered, and that piece right there. And this is where I learned I did not like the heads of these guys. It looks to me like, man, what's that thing you see on, it's like on Instagram or Snapchat, the duck face, where the girls would be like puckering up and doing these stupid kissy faces. That's what these infiltrators look like. They're I don't know. It looks like they're making weird kissy faces. So I did not want to go with those models. All right, so one more model I'm going to show off before I start working on a couple conversions and kind of show you the next stage of what I'm working on. Let me check cameras. Okay, everything's going good. Nobody's complaining about volume. So, okay. All right, so I knew that I didn't like the Captain in the box set. Captain had a lot of cool bits and parts on him. I did not like the Captain model. It's the, I guess, ostentatious nature of him. I mean, he's got a lot of bling on him, a lot of flair. Like I said earlier, he's working at TGI Fridays. I don't know if they do that anymore, or Chachi's for you that watched Office Space. It was ridiculous. I mean, they've got all these dangly things that a real soldier or Marine is not going to go out into battle with. You want your equipment to be streamlined. You don't want to take extra gear that you don't need. And a lot of these Vanguard Marines, man, they got all these weird tassels and the purity seals. I can't get rid of most of the purity seals, but charms, like the charms that you put on a cell phone. Girls will put on a cell phone, or some guys. And it's like, you don't need all that stuff. It's junk. So, and if I lose you guys on anything, just put it on the chat and I will jump on there and try to answer. Okay, so I didn't like the shape of the model. I didn't like how he stood out and it's like, hey, look at me. I'm supposed to be all stealthy, but I've got tassels and all this other stuff hanging from me, and a servo skull attached to my knee, even though it's just attached to the knee because they didn't want to put a separate little piece that you had to glue to the base. So what I did was take the Librarian. This is the Librarian model. I've got I got 3 of them left. I gave one to a friend so he can convert it up for a Chaos Sorcerer. So right here, one of the first things I did with this model is the librarian was wearing a necklace, and they have the little librarian symbol. It's always associated with them, like a little scary face with a couple downward pointing horns. And the guy's not a librarian, so it was an easy thing, clip off. And to be honest, if you're wearing, it looked to me like kind of like a dog tag too. You don't wear your necklaces and dog tags hanging out, man. You tuck that stuff away. This isn't the Vietnam War. So that was an easy thing. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to try to remove these pipings or hoses. These normally are connected to his psychic hood, but I'm not worried about forging a narrative on that one, man. It's just some power hoses. Next thing I did was add on a very simple bolt pistol. That right there is from, I think it's from the Mark III armor sets for Space Marines that came out with the, correct me if I'm wrong guys, the Burning of Prospero box set about 2 years ago. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. That could be the Mark IV, but I'm pretty sure it's the Mark III set. So that was an easy thing. Like I said, I want a lot of pistols and pouches on these guys because they're supposed to be far ranging ahead, like commandos and scouts and sort of thing. So they're going to have a lot of extra practical gear. So normally with the librarian, this arm right here, he's got a power sword, or sorry, a force sword, which is like, those that don't know, that is the kind of customary weapon that librarians will have, or they'll have a force axe or a staff or anything. But this model comes with a really exquisite looking force sword. But since this guy is going to be my captain, I had to get rid of it. So I clipped it off right here at the elbow. You might even be able to see the seam right there. It's almost seamless. When I did this, I meant to leave a little bit of a gap in the armor, so it didn't look like this forearm or the vambrace and the elbow armor was all one piece. So I'll fix that when I paint, because I think that elbow will end up being a different color. We'll get to that later. So this arm, for this forearm, is simply, after I cut right here and shaved it down, this forearm is actually, once again, from that Primaris Reaver kit. I think it's probably one of the sergeant's arms. And it was simple enough just to clip off right there at the elbow, and I just simply pinned it together. And I'll show some pinning for those who are not familiar with pinning in just a few minutes. Pinned it, and it actually looks very flush. I don't have to worry about doing any green stuff or anything, so I'm happy about that. It was a happy little accident. Pull a little Bob Ross here. I will have to do a little cleanup work. It looks like I got a little bit of over glue there. Once again, more pouches, because pouches. Rob Leafield, whatever his name is. So normally, I had to do something here because I didn't want people thinking, oh, that's a librarian. So normally librarians have this psychic hood that comes up and over, and it's used to, in the gameplay, or at least I'm guessing still in the gameplay now, but it used to be a piece of equipment that they had that would give them a bonus or let them deny psychic power in a certain area of effect. It used to be, I think, 24 inches, maybe 12 inches, something like that. And correct me if I'm wrong here, please. I'm assuming you guys can all still hear me. I'm not seeing, I see Clint jumped on, but I'm hoping you guys are still hearing me. Yay, maybe. So I just simply went in and cut that piece off before I put on the arms and the shoulder pads and everything, and just used my X-Acto knife that I'm probably going to cut myself with here on my face or my hand here shortly. I'll probably gouge my eye out by accident. So yeah, just simply cut that off and smoothed it out with the razor blade, and that way it looked like a normal suit of armor. I got a little too close, you'll see, let's see, try to get a good gap there. I need to leave just a fraction of that armor still needed to be on there, but I'm not too worried about it, because that once I get that backpack on here, that backpack will cover that up, so I'm not too worried about it. And the backpack that I'll use will be that captain's backpack, since it already has the Omni Scrambler, I think is what they call it, so I'm going to have that on there. Okay, so it's a little low. I think can you hear me all right now, Kevin? Is that a little bit better? Oh well, we'll see. All right, so I'll try to talk up a little bit louder, and talk a little bit more towards the mic. Maybe even push the mic over here a little bit. Perfect. All right, so the last thing I did for this captain model, since I wanted him to be like the Vanguard captain, normally this librarian has a arm where he's like, I don't know, like focusing right here, like he's about ready to cast his power, so he's like trying to maintain his focus. I didn't want to put that arm bit on there because I wanted him to look like more like the captain. So hopefully, I just moved the mic a little closer. I'm hoping you guys can hear me a little bit better. I'm hoping you can. I'm told that you might not be able to hear it clearly. This is still my first run doing this, so if hopefully next time the technical difficulties will be dealt with. I can see somebody's trying to help me out there. Oh, they're saying that's better. They can hear me better, so good. Okay, so anyways, so all I did with this model is I just took the captain's arm with the that has the instigator bolt rifle, and all I did, I just simply glued it in place. There was no nifty tricks or anything. I just glued it in place. It still presents a high profile, so if he's hiding behind cover, somebody's going to be able to see it, and I can see the tip of your barrel, so I can shoot you. A little silly, but hey, whatever. So as you guys will be able to see, I'm going to try to get it here. You can see the gap. Since this arm is not designed to be on the model, after I glued it, that's when I saw that the gaps were there. So what I'm going to have to do is get some green stuff, put it down in there, and I'll hold off on painting this model on Monday's show, right before I start painting. I'll show you guys how I'll show you that process. So anyways, I'm going to have to get some green stuff down inside of there just to fill that gap out. And underneath here, I'm assuming you can see there's a tiny little gap there. Most people wouldn't care, but I want this to be as good as possible. And so what I'm going to have to do is, once again, green stuff that. And a good reason to green stuff these gaps on any of your models is, it helps reinforce that bond, because obviously no super glue got there in that gap, so that reduces the amount of surface area that you've got held together. So the green stuff will get in there and act as a nice bonding agent, and then I'll smooth it over with a sculpting tool, and that will help make it look a little bit more natural, like that's how the model should be. So I'll go over that on Monday, right before I start painting. So these are the models that I've already got worked on, and I just wanted to test these things out. So I'm thinking everything is good now. Volume is good. I'm doing my best here to talk right into the mic. I've got somebody that's actually, my tech guys, Jonathan is actually, looks like he's working on the screen for me. So I'm very thankful for that. I'm not sure what was going on, because like earlier, you guys were not able to hear me for about, I don't know, about 5 minutes. So let's see here. All right, let's get started. on a couple conversions. Oh, I got a couple more models to show you guys. And this is where we're going to be going into the conversions today. And these ones, these are I think the coolest conversions that probably, I'm sure other people have done it, but when I started doing this, I got super excited about this. So, going back here, once again, this is one of the normal models. I did a couple very simple conversions here, very simple conversions. First thing is I put a group of pouches right here on his hip plate, and I wanted to just once again have all those extra pouches, you know, like Rob Liefeld. These guys aren't Deadpool, but pretty close. And the other thing I did was, as soon as I can see the camera here, yep. So it looks like the sound quality is good. I'm getting the okay from tech support, my awesome boss. So I've got right on here another one of those Reaver helmets. Like I said, you're going to see that reoccurring theme with these guys. That Primaris Reaver box. I'm probably going to buy either another one from Atomic Hobby Shop, or I might order some bits. But I'll probably get the whole box because there are so many good bits. Plus, I could use 10 more bodies for something. I'm looking at a list that involves Reavers. There's some interesting combos with the new obfuscating powers, librarian powers, the suppressors, and the Reavers. I mean, it's not a great combo, but I think it'll be a very interesting combo, getting them up there, getting them into close combat, especially against these units that can't overwatch. You know, orcs. I mean, imagine an orc unit that cannot overwatch, like an orc ludas. All of a sudden, they can't overwatch, and now here comes 10 Reavers. That's 31 attacks that they're going to come in and hit with. And even if they don't kill all those orcs, which I doubt they would, kill 25 ludas, those Reavers are going to get in there, and now that unit's going to be tied up. And then in the shooting phase, as long as we're still locked in combat, now I'm going to be shooting you and then fighting in close combat again. So it's pretty brutal. So, so let me show you the cool feature, at least what I think is a cool feature. So this squad that I'm going to work on tonight to show you guys, every guy is going to have this the suppressor on their weapon somehow. I went ahead and I started with cutting the suppressors off of 3 of the Eliminator rifles, since I'm only going to be doing 3 squads of Eliminators. And those are the sniper guys. If you have not seen the box yet, when you do see the box, it'll be a squad of 3 guys. 2 of them are kneeling. 1 of them is just standing there looking through some binoculars. They got cloaks on. These are the Eliminators. They're basically as snipers. So I clipped off simply just clipped it off at the tip, always the tip, and I pinned it. So this squad is going to be basically kind of like an advanced squad, but they're going to be the ones that are going to be sneaking in, planning charges, opening gates, you know, going to taking out the gate guards, that sort of thing, while the main body is moving up. So I really like the idea of the suppressor, and it got me really excited. So something you guys are also going to see, I try to do this with all my Marines. I think it's a good thing. I think you should also consider it, you Orc players and Chaos Space Marine players, and maybe even the Guard players. Look at just drilling a little hole at the tip of the barrel, and that right there just kind of it's an extra little feature that, like myself as a judge, if I had 2 outstanding looking armies and I gave them the same paint score, appearance score, everything, if I had to decide who was better, the guy that took time to drill out those holes to make them look a little bit more realistic, he would get the prize. Simple stuff like that. So that's one guy of the squad done. Here's another guy. Same thing. Now this suppressor barrel is actually from the Space Marine Scout snipers. It's right off his sniper rifle. All I did was just cut it off at that little connector point and drilled a hole, put it in, and voila, now I have a suppressed marksman carbine. So this squad now has 2 guys and is all super sneaky and silent, or not silent, but suppressed. And once again, got the head of a Reaver on there. I forgot to bring the extra Reaver heads today, so about 4 of these models are not going to be getting I'm not going to bother putting the head on right now. I'm going to save it till I get the Reaver. I might actually leave all the heads off until I can get a full squad's worth of these helmets. I didn't add anything else because I didn't want to pull away on this model, and it's going to be like this for the rest of that squad. I don't want to pull away from the cool feature of the helmet and the suppressor. I don't want. I think that's going to be one of the coolest parts, and I want that focus that you have on, like, oh my god, what is that? How do they get the suppressors? How'd you put that on there? That sort of thing. So I want that squad to look really cool and not have to worry about too much extra bling. So that right now, that covers all of my basic models I've kind of worked on. Let me check on chat here. Awesome. Leon, the green stuff scale cloaks. Oh my gosh, if you green stuff scales on your cloaks, that's amazing, dude. That's a round of applause there. All right, so let's get started on some pinning. So some of the tools that I'll use with pinning, I always get a hobby drill of some sort. Usually I have Games Workshop products. Today in my tool bag, all I had was my Army Painter stuff. The Army Painter stuff is good. Some of it's better, I think, than some of the Games Workshop stuff, just in like durability. Like this is the drill from the Army Painter. The Games Workshop one, the Citadel brand, it's really nice, it's really snazzy, and it's a little bit lighter weight. But this is the one I have, and I'm not, until I lose this one, I'm not going to bother buying a new one. It's just kind of a waste of money. I'd rather spend that money on Games Workshop models. I'll be using this. Once again, the Army Painter knife. This is the hobby knife, the one that I've probably almost cut my face several times on. So what I'm going to be doing is just using this to shave down parts, cut off some little bit of flash and whatnot. I do prefer this one over the Games Workshop one, mainly because I like the almost pencil-like nature of it versus this. I don't know. It's more like a utility knife. The Games Workshop one's almost like a utility knife. I'm not a big fan of it. It serves its purpose when I need to put pressure down and on a thick piece of plastic. This one I would not do that because this part right here is pretty hollow, and it's basically just hollowed out plastic. So if I end up putting too much pressure down, or if it had a crack in it, it would end up snapping, and then I would probably impale myself with this edge of this knife. The other thing I'm doing is using once again, since like I said, I have Army Painter stuff with me. I have their precision cutters. The precision cutters, these are really, really nice cutters. They're heavy duty. Now, the Army Painter puts out 2 different cutters. They have I think it's called a plastic sprue cutter, and then they have the precision cutter or side cutter. Get the precision ones. These ones are extremely more durable. The other ones will break. I kid you not. Everybody I know keeps. I've had them returned. I've had them break right on me. So these are heavy duty. These are great. The only thing that I think that I like about Games Workshop differently is that Games Workshop's one has its profile is about half the width of this, so it's a little bit skinnier and it's a little bit easier to get into some spots. But these are really heavy duty, so when you're dealing with, say, resin from Forge World or the thicker plastic, sprues, and this is the cutters that you want. Then I always have my handy dandy paper clips. Today I've got a smaller size. I forgot to bring the larger size, but I'm going to make this work. Because the most important thing is that there's at least something connecting the two that super glue can bond to and whatnot. So, check chat real quick. All right, chat is still good. All right, so let's take a look at our first model. So, I did not bring in any super glue. Give me 1 second, guys. I am so sorry. Okay, super glue, got it. For super glue, I've had people ask me what they think is the better super glue. It's really whatever brand you like. I'm personally a fan of the Army Painter. I know some people like the Gale Force 9. Every time I've used Gale Force 9 super glue, the super glue is fine itself. It's the bottles that are the issue. The Army Painter has always proved to be better for me. If you've had better experience with Gale Force 9 or Games Workshop, cool, good on you. Use whatever works for you. I like this better. So I'm going to just quickly get these models glued on, get this model glued here. Now, so we're not running too late and keeping you guys up watching me do all this stuff. Put together like 13 models. I'm going to show you probably about a half dozen models because tonight I just wanted to like talk to you about how I plan out the armies, show you some of the first conversions I've done and kind of like the converting process. And then Monday, while I'm letting this dry in my hands here, Monday I'll show you some of the cooler conversions and some of the basing and how I do some of the green stuff work before we actually get into the painting. My week 1, which is started, well, 2 days ago, all the way until Sunday, is all about just getting all the models built and the planning stage and getting all my models built. And then week 2, which is starting next Monday, that's when I'll finish up any last minute conversions, which I'd like to show you guys some stuff. And that's when I will start painting the first 500 points, with this will be, it looks like, I think I'm going to try to show you guys the 3 different squad types. So I'll do 1 squad of infiltrators, 1 squad of suppressors, and 1 squad of eliminators. So you see me doing 3 different painting techniques. Now with each of these, I'm going to be using a variety of batch painting techniques. So the infiltrators and the eliminators, I'll be showing you basically the 3-man batch painting technique, and then the other one, the 10-man squad, I'll show it in groups of 5. I'll already have 1 group of 5 already primed and the first few layers on, so I can show you the next step after the layering, the initial layering. And then of course the other squad that's just primed, I'll show you how I do the layering. But instead of just showing you one model, hey, this is how you batch paint, just rinse and repeat this process, I'm going to show you, I'm going to line up all the models so you can see literally me batch paint 5 models at a time, or 3 models at a time, so you can actually get some better experience. I've seen some videos out there where people just show you 1 model and say, okay, well that's how you batch paint. No, Todd, that's how you paint 1 model. How about showing us how you actually batch paint? So I'm going to do that for you. And I think batch painting, especially for painting really fast, especially if you're going to be doing dry brushing, is probably the best and fastest way to get stuff done. And another part of that 30-day challenge I've had a lot of people tell me, "Oh, I've been too busy to paint models. I don't know if I'll have my models ready for Warzone Houston, which is the second week of July. That's like 3.5 months away. I mean, if I can get, I'm going to only be spending about 5 hours a week during this whole month. So was that about 20, maybe 25 hours this month to build, convert, paint, and base these models. Then you can do the same with your army when you have 3.5 months. Even if it's the lowest quality, getting your 3 color minimum and basic basing. So I hope that you can do that. I know some people have kids and they have daytime jobs and they do a lot of travel and such, but still, if you can devote 5 hours a week, or even half that, say even just 2.5 hours a week for the next 3.5 months, you'll have your army built and painted. So, all right, let me check chat real quick. All right, cool. Clint, go to sleep. Telling me I failed. All right, so the model is good. Let me click over here. All right, so model is glued. I'm just getting rid of some mold, see if there's any mold lines. It's kind of hard to see with the camera, but now Games Workshop puts out a really nice mold line remover. I'm just not going to get it right now. I've actually got one at home with my tool bag that has all the Games Workshop products in it, but I'm going to be using this one today. The only thing I would say, if you're going to be using a hobby knife, make sure you are comfortable using it. That if you've got the experience doing it, I've got years and years of using these and cutting myself on them. That way, because with these hobby knives, if you put too much pressure or you have the blade at the wrong angle, you're going to end up gouging into your model. You don't want that. Well, or maybe you do. I mean, a happy accident, like Bob Ross would say. I mean, you could turn that little gouge into battle damage, and you can go back in and paint that nick that you got in there and make it look like a bolter round had hit it, or maybe a plasma round, or somebody tried to stab him or something. So that's just a simple little thing you can do. You can turn around. So even those accidents like that are they're not a bad thing. You can turn it around. Now if it's, oh my God, I just lopped off his leg, maybe give him a peg leg. I don't know. Use some sprues and give him a peg leg, or just try to glue that thing back on the best you can. Okay, so yeah, there's like all these little extra bits of flash on here. I always try to get those off. That's because I didn't do a very precise cut on that. I just kind of half-assed it, excuse my language. So, and I'd always say try to scrape towards you with the blade pointed at the model. That way you don't have to worry about gouging. So if I was trying to cut it this way, I'm going to get some gouges, and that's going to, now I'm going to have a lot of battle damage guys. So just real quick, look through here. Yeah. So, all right, I think he's good for the next part. So, like I said, with planning, so I've planned on with these guys is this the squad that's going to all have the suppressors. So in this case, I haven't figured out what the right tempo is or the right staging for to do this. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and build this model, minus the head and the suppressor, and get in there. There we go. Without the suppressor or the head on it right now, that way I can kind of gauge. So the other way I would do this is just leave the bolter off, the bolter arms off, and create the conversion with that. But I think this way it'll be just fine. We're about to find out. So I'm letting these arms settle a little bit before I mess with it. it's a chance for me to go ahead and take a look at some of these extra thousands of little bits here that I've dug up. I feel like, you know what, I see a repeat theme here. So what I'm going to do is there's this little nub there. I'm sure, who knows what that's for. It's just an extra little piece that Games Workshop put on there for who knows what reason. So what I'm going to do is, I usually try to dry fit this stuff. Just put a happy little group of pouches on his hip there. And I try to angle it in accordance with how the leg is, you know, so it doesn't look all wonky. That's just simple stuff you guys would already pick up on. So now I have it sitting a little low there, but that's what I wanted. That works out actually really good. So simple extra little pouch. That's such a minor conversion, but it helps your model stand out from the guy next to you that has 50 of these infiltrator marines. So congratulations, you're now one step ahead of him. So just showing that there. All right, let's see here. Let me check on chat real quick. 60 orcs, over 60 orcs on 3 weeks. Let's see here. Well, Clint, we painted, what, about 70 orcs in 3 days, painted and based in 3 days, to really good quality. We won the painting on that too. So I think, yeah, you can do 60 orcs in 30 days. If we can do that in 3 days, yeah. Let's see here. All right, so let's get on to the drilling part here. Okay, so I'm going to try, it's going to be a little difficult to do this. So what I'll do with the drilling part is I'll try to get as close to center as possible. And then I'll just do a little twist so I can start the hole, make sure the beginning of the hole is right where I want it. If not, I'll kind of angle it and until it starts being a little center, and then I'll center out the drill. So let's see here. Let's see. The lighting is not too great in here. It's going against me. All right. So let's see. So like I said, just a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but you should be able to see the hole right about there. That's just the start of it. So now that I've got it started, I can just gently drill inside of there. It's not perfectly in the center, but it's good enough for government work, as I like to say. And I'm only going to go in just a little bit because I want to make sure I have room for the paper clip. Now this paper clip might be too small. Yeah, it's a little too small. Let me drill a little bit more in there. I got to be careful right now because I got a little off center, and what I want to avoid, as you should be able to see right now, being a little bit off center. One side's very close to me. The left side of here by my thumb is very close to collapsing. So I'm going to stop drilling right now. So what I'll do is just kind of figure in. I'll go ahead and just put the paper clip directly in, and I'll clip probably about that much room. Let's see here, and try not to lose the little piece that I got. All right, so let's see if you can see. The tip of my precision cutters are magnetized somehow, probably from all the magnets I've used, but that's going to be the pin that I'm going to use. So normally I would use a larger, since I've got a larger drill bit here, I would use the neck size up of the paper clips, but this is all I've got to work with right now, so we're going to make it work. Like Tim Gunn would say, make it work. So, I've got this selection of barrels right here on the ground. So I've got the Scout Sniper rifles I talked about earlier, and then these ones with the little flash. Oh goodness, I can't think of the word. The little holes at the end, so that, whatever that stuff comes out. Oh my gosh, my brain is going dead on me here. And those ones right there are from the Eliminator rifles. So I'm going to hold off on using that one in case I end up using some pistols. I think that one looks really good at the end of a pistol. So, well, I know it's a suppressor, but the little holes down at the end where the little flash comes out, or the fire or smoke, whatever. Can't think of what that part of the barrel is called. Let's see here. So this is the barrel from the Scout Sniper rifle. I've already clipped them off right at the end right there. That's the front of the barrel, and that is the back that would actually attach to the rifle. So all I'm doing is just going through and making sure that it's the edge, that it's a nice flat surface, so when I go into drill and I fit it up against the barrel on the bolter, it's a nice flush seal right there. So it looks like it's good. So we're going to drill, just to try to do a better job of drilling this. Let's see, what time is it? 9:35. I was trying to keep the show down to about an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm going to try to get this show done at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to show you a couple more models, and that's just to be a nice basis to get you guys going. And like I said, next week you'll see some more conversion work, and probably the first 20-25 minutes, and then the last bit of conversion, or the last like, I don't know, 45 minutes to hour and 20 minutes will be me starting the batch painting process. And I'll be doing that process on the first 500 points, and that's the same process I'll be using for the following 2 weeks. Now, week 3 will be concentrating primarily on, it'll be 1,000 points that I'll be doing that week. Next week and the last week are going to be 500 points. I just chose that method because I think that week 2 here, starting Monday, that will set the pace. So I'll know how these models paint up, how fast they paint, how much time I got to spend on them. So I think week 3, I will blaze through the vast majority of the army. That leaves me week 4 to finish up the last 500 points, which I'm going to concentrate mainly on the characters. The characters themselves, I'm running, I'll get my list up on FMP so you guys can see it. I'm going to be running 1 captain, 2 librarians, and 2 lieutenants, I believe. 1 or 2 lieutenants in the army. And then I'm running 4 infiltrator squads. See, let's back up. So I'm running a battalion under Ultramarines, but they're going to be Red Scorpions, but Ultramarines tactics, since they are successors of the Ultramarines. And that battalion will be 1 captain. It'll be 1 librarian, then 4 instigators or infiltrator squads. That's the basic troop choice that's in this box. That's what I'm working on right now. Then I'm going to run another battalion, or not battalion, a outrider detachment that will feature 3 squads of the eliminator, or sorry, 4 squads of the suppressors. Those are the jump pack guys that I'll work on right after this model with the autocannon. So 4 squads of those in a detachment with that one will have a lieutenant. And then a 3rd detachment will be 3 squads of eliminators and a librarian. I think that the librarians with these eliminators and the infiltrators, it's going to be a good combo. I know it doesn't sound like the best army. This is just the basis, and also a chance for me to have an army up and running. I'm looking at adding in repulsor tanks or whatever new stuff that I know is coming. I just don't know when it's coming, and I can't reveal too much. But there's more coming for the Vanguard Primaris Marines, so stand by on that one. All right, so let me get back to drilling here because I'm gabbing away here, and I said I'll try to get this done at 10 o'clock, so you guys have not wasting too much of your time. I'm trying to keep it, like I said, about an hour, hour and a half. All right, so I think I've got the hole there good. Muzzle brake, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Let's see here. All right. So before I pin this, I want to go ahead, as I said before, you'll see me going in and drilling out the ends of all the barrels because I want it to look as realistic as possible. Realistic as 8.5, 9 foot tall, 900 some odd pound walking transhumans can be in power armor. I want it to be as real as possible, and to give me that little extra edge in appearance, because a lot of GTs and majors and even local tournaments are moving away from the painting score and they're going for an appearance score. So they're not just including the painting anymore. They want to see your basing. They want to see your display board. They want to see all the conversion work that you do. So, all right, so I did it again. I got a little bit off center, as you should be able to see. So what I'm about to do is try to drill slightly at an angle, and then I'm going to tilt up there and drill straight down, and that's a lot better. It's going to make the barrel look a little wonky, but that's okay. And you don't have to drill all the way down. It's just enough to create that that depth and that shadow. So when they look at that barrel, it's not just like a little divot. It's like, well, how deep did he drill that hole? Not very far. All right, so it looks like, all right, so back to my little bit. So here's my little bit for the pinning. And you really kind of have to gauge this. I usually try to leave about the same amount of barrel length or same amount of length. Unless you're going to sit there and measure each pin, it's kind of an eyeball thing. It's always easier and better for you to leave a little bit more because you can always cut off that extra little bit and than it is to have to cut a new pin because you cut it too short. So always do that little extra bit. A box of paper clips, like maybe $2. Now there are hobby supplies out there from like the Army Painter, Gale Force 9, I believe, and of course Hobby Lobby that have got the metal pins, the brass pins, all that kind of stuff. If you want to fork out the money for that, fantastic. You'll be paying about 4 times that amount than you would a bunch of paper clips, and you're getting less. So keep that in mind. So just a simple little bit of super glue here, and you'll see that I cut my tips on the super glue always at an angle. I don't remember why it's important to do that, but I do that anyways. And so I just need to get a little bit of super glue here, just enough, and simply I can see that I made that just a little too shallow there. So made the hole just a little too shallow, one of the sides. So what I'm going to do is just choose the one side that the super glue did not stick to and drill this out right quick. Let's see here. I'm sure somebody could tell me about how to be a little bit more precise with this, but I am old school where I don't listen to good reason until it's too late. And then I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. All right, so there we go. So there's a little notch at the top of this, these Scout sniper rifles. and I use that as kind of like my centering point for the rifle, or for the barreling. This glue doesn't feel like it really set in there, so I might have to pop that out. I didn't get enough on there. Alright, so that had better be enough. Alright, try to make sure everything's lined up, and there we go. Get that turned up the right way. So all I did right there is, once I got the barrel on there, I got enough super glue to hold it in place, is just kind of make sure that everything matches up. I got nice straight lines with the barrel and the direction of the gun, and it's not all wonky or anything. So yeah, Tyler, I same here. I screw up so much. That's when I did my last Custodes army, the one I just sold, that got me into not hot water, but hot water. I was trying to pose the Custodes, and I butchered so many models screwing up. I basically wasted about a box and a half of Adeptus Custodes. So, as you guys can see, simple conversion to all those scopes, which I don't think you need really that many scopes and rangefinders. I mean, that's correct me if I'm wrong, aren't there some modern day scopes where it's about the size of an ACOG, but it's got a little flip thing that comes up that you can increase the range to about like 8, go from 4 times to 8 times. It's just like a little latch that flips on and off, and a rangefinder. I'm guessing that's a rangefinder. Once again, a lot of ridiculous nature of Games Workshop tech and a lot of stuff on. It still looks badass, but it seems that far in the future, it's a little ridiculous to have that much. So, but I got the barrel on. Now, the muzzle brake right here on the original barrel, I'm going to fill in with green stuff, and you'll see all that on Monday. I'll have all that filled in and smoothed out. I'll leave a couple models alone so you can see that process, just so you know what it looks like. But there, perfect example of what I was trying to get off. Yeah, flip over magnifier, is that what it's called, Tyler? I think so. That process right there with that suppressor, I'm going to repeat that for this squad. I've got, 2, 4, 6, 7 more of those to do. That's going to be the only 10-man squad. Now, I've got a couple more suppressors at home, I think, or I'm going to try to find some. I might do that barrel extension for the captain, but I doubt it. I don't think I'll do it for the lieutenants. I think I just want it to be that squad. Maybe one of the librarians. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so that's the process for doing the suppressor barrels. So if you get a chance, if you're wanting to add the suppressors on, and you can find the cheap sniper rifles like on eBay, or you might have them, or you're like me and you bought 4 boxes worth of Shadow Spear, and you have all these extra suppressors on the eliminators that you're not going to use, then simply just clip them off and enhance one of your models. Even if you don't have like 10, 12, 13 like I did, suppressors to put on a whole squad and some extra guys, you could still enhance a couple of your guys. And like I said, that's that one little trick that's going to make your model stand out over the guy next to you. So putting on the screen right here, this is the suppressor, or the whatever the eliminator's rifle is called. I think it's the Marksman bolt rifle or something. So all I did was get rid of the suppressor. I just cut right here in this middle section of the bolter, or the barrel, and that's where I connected it to the other model. And I just left this large muzzle at the end. I just kept that on because I didn't want to mess with leaving the suppressor on. And it's still a long range rifle. and that suppressor doesn't matter. Now I've kept that suppressor on 3 of my other 3 squads, and I might take it off of one of the squads, so I'll have only 2 squads with suppressors and 1 without, just because sometimes, you know, I've fired like a Barrett before with a suppressor, and it doesn't do a whole lot unless you're like a mile away, and then you might not hear that shot. But sometimes in that battlefield environment, you'll see it. Just watch some war movies where they call for a marksman to come up there. He doesn't take time to put the suppressor on. He just breaks out that rifle and zooms in on somebody and blows their head off, or, you know, detonate their explosives they got attached to their side or whatever. So I'm not too worried about the suppressor part, and that's not even an actual rule in the game. So I'm not too worried about it. Okay, let me check chat. So we're still good on chat, and we're about 10-15 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick assembly for. Let me get all these extra bits out of the way because I don't need the suppressor right now. But I will take. Let's find us a nice pouch to put on here. Here we go. That looks like a nice little pouch that will go on my suppressor that I'm going to add on here for you guys. All right, so suppressor. This is all the parts for a suppressor. That is a lot of bits. And I know it's not focused in. I had to manually set the focus on this so you guys can see closer. If I put on the autofocus, then as soon as I put my big fat fingers on there, it'll zoom in on that, and it just gets all crazy. So one of the things I'm going to start here, since we're talking about drilling holes and everything. So this is the suppressor's autocannon. It's a pretty impressive item, and I definitely like the fact that the Primaris Marines are getting some extra heavy weapons besides like the plasma gun or the plasma exterminators or heavy plasma gun, whatever it's called, that the Hellblasters have. So once again, I'm going to stick with the drilling of the barrel here. So luckily, there is a mold line inside the barrel. So I can use that as I get some of the super glue off of here. I can use that as my starting point. So let's see if I can get this. I had too much caffeine, so my hands are a little shaky right now. Sorry about that. You know what? So I'm seeing this. I got a little too much super glue, or I got super glue on this drill bits. And that is making it a little difficult. That's something else you have to pay attention to. There we go. That's cleaned up. If you ever have to drill, go back and re-drill a hole. If you get any super glue down there, you'll get the super glue on the tip, and it'll be enough that your pin drill will not work properly. So keep that in mind if all of a sudden you're not getting any traction. All right, so let's see if we could do this. All right, so once again, drilled the little tiny starter hole, and it looks like I'm right in the center on that one. And it's probably because it's a bigger barrel. Well, looks like I might be a little off again. In the long run, it doesn't matter because you're just getting a little bit in there. So you can see, drill a little hole in there. Chris, I would like to do a full silencer army, but I've got to find some way to get more silencers. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. One option that was presented to me was, and here I am getting rid of a little bit of flash. One method I'm looking at doing is I'm trying not to cut myself here, so sorry I went silent there on you guys. So one thing I'm trying to do is get some brass rod. There's some hollowed out brass rod that you can get at Hobby Lobby. And if it's the right size, I will look at getting it and pinning it on there. Another option that somebody suggested to me was go through the bits boxes and look for any banners. If you find the right banner type from usually the larger banners, not from like the elves or Eldar or whatever, those banners are generally about that same thickness as these silencer or suppressors. If I say silencer, I mean suppressor, vice versa. But there are banners that are that same size, and that's a little trick also you guys can do is find some of those banners that you're not using that are about that same circumference of the suppressors, and just chop those up and drill the holes in, pin it, and make sure you drill a hole at the end of the barrel. And then next thing you know, man, you've got a suppressor on there, and you didn't have to go and buy 6 sniper rifles or cut up your eliminators or whatever. So thanks for that, Chris. You reminded me that about some of that advice some people gave me. So maybe by Monday, this entire army might be full of suppressors. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm actually kind of excited about that. Thanks, Chris. We'll see if that happens. So real quick here, I'm just trying to get rid of some of the flash. And what I do with the hobby knife, and since I don't have my mold line remover, is I get it as close as possible and just the tiniest, slightest angle. And then I move the blade over until it hits something solid. And then I know that, or as I'm watching, of course, then I can see that I hit the chunk. Let's go ahead and apply some more pressure slowly until I get it all off. And then I can go back through, since I don't have the mold line remover, and just simply drag the edge of the hobby knife to me. Now, the problem with doing that also is that it kind of dulls the knife over time. So, and I've heard people say, and I agree with them, that those dull blades, switch it over to a handle that you're not going to use regularly, and use that as a mold line remover. I haven't tried that yet, but it sounds like a good idea. Especially as these blades get duller and duller over time. It's kind of a way to save a little bit of money. I still think the mold line remover is a great tool, but if you're on a budget and you'd rather spend more money on your models, then do that. All right, so it looks like I got all the mold lines for the most part. I always, right before I do the priming, I always give all the models a look over or once over to make sure it's all good. It'll save you a little bit of time. Chris says plastic card is a great idea. Oh, Tyler said that. I did not know that they make plastic card rods. I'm going to look into that. And a great thing about that part is that even if I don't have that by the time I start painting, I can find that stuff, order it, and have the entire model painted. I already have the holes drilled on those barrels, and all I have to do is just clip off enough length for the suppressor, drill it out, or make sure it's primed, drill it out, glue it, and then paint over it, and paint that suppressor barrel, and it's done. So that'll be an easy thing. Thanks for that, guys. I really appreciate that. All right, so let's try to get this done here. Let's get this guy. I only try to do a couple connection points with the super glue. I don't want to get the whole thing glued, just enough. Basically the 3 points of contact. Some people will like glue the entire every seam, but when you do that, you run the risk of getting super glue on your fingers. You get some overspill, and even my technique, I get some overspill. And whenever I do apply that super glue onto those seams, the connection points, I always try to get to where the glue will go into the cavity of the model and not spill out. That really helps eliminate getting super glue on your fingers and getting fingerprints, super glue fingerprints on your model, which is a pain in the butt. So here I am, just while this model's or the glue is drying, just kind of getting rid of some of those mold lines. Cut off this flash a little bit. And I know that I am probably using some very unsafe techniques here, and I apologize for anybody that's like an OSHA guy or their parent and are like, oh my God, I can't let my kids watch this. They'll cut themselves. Use proper techniques. I will try to be better, but I probably won't. All right, so while that guy's drying right there on the inside, I'm going to go ahead and take care of the legs. Once again, I always dry fit everything before I glue. So these suppressors, that's what I'm building together right now. Really simple construction. That front greaves, I think it's the greaves. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. Put that greaves in the basically in his little wing flap, whatever's on there. So I found that putting the super glue on the inside here near the kneecap for these guys works the best after the other 6 of these guys I've put together. So you don't have to do too much pressure on these because they actually fit in there quite nicely. And then when you have the super glue, it creates a pretty quick bond. So I can actually leave this bit alone. I don't have to put too much pressure on it. Same thing here. Clean off a little bit of the flash. Forgot to check on that other piece, but when you guys are doing these suppressors, or any model really, always check the feet because there's usually a mold line down there. And it's usually on the left, on the inside of the foot. Yeah, the instep. Instep. What's going on here? All right, well, you have a good night. Thanks for jumping on, Kevin. Thanks for supporting. I really appreciate it, brother. Oh man, something I forgot is right here. When you're doing these suppressors, there's going to be whenever you clip it off, there's going to be a little bit of flash right here, no matter how good you get. I'm not too worried about the little bit of flash or sprue that on the bottom here, because that is going to end up. You'll see how I do the bases for these guys. They're going to be, some of them are going to be standing, some are going to be on their flight bases. Sorry, let me get that in the picture here. But generally these things are going to be down. They're going to be pointed downward, so any flash underneath there, people might not see. I'd still go ahead and get rid of it, but if you miss it, it's okay. It's not going to kill anybody. All right, so time to put this model together. Now, I have found that these guys are a little frustrating. I'm sure there's an easier way to do all this, but I don't like to try to figure the easy way out on stuff. So I'm going to first start by just a little bit of super glue on his left hand here, and that's where he's got the extra little grip. And this one, try to have it angled out a little bit more, because when I'm about to put it on the body here, it'll have a little bit of flexibility. So I'm going to add a little bit of super glue to the ends of the arms, a little bit more here for this guy. There we go. And we're going to try to do this. Oh, perfect. Oh, that works. All right. So, oh, nope. There we go. All right, so this is just one of those things you guys are going to see and feel for yourself, so it's kind of hard to show how I'm exactly holding this and angle it, but when you're ready to super glue all this together, definitely on this part right here, go ahead and add a little bit of super glue in there, get that arm on there, and then push it out at an angle. You can see the angle that I've got it going at, because that's how it's going to fit into that arm. And then you can just put the super glue like I did at the ends of each arm and push it in there. You'll want to double check, and it's kind of hard to see from my angle, but this wasn't fully connected. And this wasn't fully connected. Oh, it looks like it's not fully connected there. But this is a simple fix with a little bit of green stuff, if I even want to bother with that. If somebody's getting underneath there and looking at that, well, that is a bit of a gap. So yeah, I'll probably do a little bit of green stuff in there just to shore up the connection and help make it flush. So a little bit of a boo-boo there, but nothing. I'm going to break this model apart and redo it. All right, so I'm getting there on the model here, getting them done. This is, like I said, this one's going to be a simple conversion. So first, let's get his. One thing I did differently here is I forgot. Sorry, I'm not used to having this camera here, so this overhead camera where you're seeing the miniature. Anyways, so one quick thing: put the legs on before you put the gun on. Because this is the first time I did it this way, and I realized that was a bit of a pain in the butt. So, a little bit of glue in there. Doesn't require too much, but let me get this going here. There we go. All right. And the Army Painter super glue does not take long to set. However, like any super glue that you use, if you just glue it together like this, I mean, you can see that it's holding. It's not fully dried yet, so don't go putting pressure on it, because it'll end up popping. So my plan is to get this little bit on here, and actually that's going to fit in snugly right. Man, that's going to work out great. I'm overdoing it with the pouches, but like I said, I want my guys to have that extra little bling so they can stand out over your models. So when they look at my models and your models for best appearance, they'll be like, well, John went the extra mile, so we kind of got to give it to him. No offense, but you know, if I'm there for a contest, I'm going to do my best to win it. So simple little bit of super glue here. See if I can get it to a stick. This might be a little bit more of a pain in the butt. I might not get the super glue in the right spot. I did not get the super glue in the right spot. So, sorry about all this. It's kind of a hit or miss. I haven't used this bit before. I think it's from the Black, oops, that's a lot of super glue. I think it's from the Black Templars kit. It definitely has that feel to it. I've never seen it before. Oh, there we go. And voila. So, let's see here. Just checking the chat real quick. Oh yeah, Tyler, I glue myself to my miniatures all the time, dude. I have to go back and scrape several times, like, because it'll have my partial fingerprint, and not that I'm worried about my fingerprint being out there, but I am worried about the appearance of my model with a big old fat fingerprint on it. Something I do also real quick is when I'm putting these pouches on, I forgot to do it with this model, is I like to dry fit the backpacks to make sure that they are going to fit, and it fits good. I'd also check, especially if you are going to be converting these guys at all outside their normal pose, is make sure that these are going to line up close. Now there is a little bit of flexibility in it. I'm not too worried about this tiny little gap that I'm seeing, but that's another thing you want to test on once you get that barrel on there, or if you're experimenting with putting these on other bodies, make sure that you line up that belt feed, because it's not resin. So if it was resin, I would say, man, don't worry about it, because put it in some boiling water and for like 3 seconds you can sit there and manipulate it, no problem. Okay, so easy peasy. The only converting that we did is the barrel, and I'm tempted to use a larger drill bit on these guys to give them a larger barrel aperture there. I'm not sure yet. The only other conversion bit was right here, and you know what? I'm feeling that funky head that I had on, that I used last time, that I put on the other models, I think this guy, heck, you know what? No, we're not going to use this one. Let's use a different one, a crazy one. Since these are red scorpions, nobody said that you know what their hairstyles or anything like that is. We know that they're kind of like, not genetic purists, but they are pretty, they stick very close to the Codex Astartes, even though Gilliman has come down and said, hey, you guys, that Codex was not supposed to be like a Bible. And it was just like, it's kind of like some guidelines to, like some suggestions on how to wage war. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Red Scorpions with Gilliman back, because everybody thinks that Ultramarines, we follow the Codex and blah, blah, blah. No, even in the lore, it says that the Red Scorpions are like diehard adherent. They adhere to the rules like strictly. They make the Ultramarines look like not even choir boys. I mean, they look like they're heretics, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So it's trying to find a good bit here. I've got some Space Wolf bits I'm tempted to use, but it's this. Some of these parts are a little bit of pain in the butt. Anyways, so what this all means is just trying to find a guy here with some good hair, some wild hair. I've got some Space Wolf bits, and I've got what are they called? Blood Angels. And I don't want these guys to be pretty boys. I feel like these guys could be a little bit wild, these suppressors, because they're jumping from low orbit. They're coming down with these heavy weapons. And if you guys have seen like a Spectre gunship fire all of its guns, even in videos, you'll see this big, basically C-130, when it starts firing its howitzers and all that stuff, you'll see it move as the plane is circling. It'll basically jolt because it got all this ordnance. That's how I see these guys coming down. So as an extra little bit, I've got this Space Wolf head, Space Wolf head that I'm going to put on there. Yeah, there's no other little identifying features except for the mohawk and the little rat tail he's got there. But I'm going to go ahead and put that on there because I think it will help enhance that model and kind of give these suppressors that Daredevil kind of look. Not Marvel Daredevil, but like, hey, I got the wind in my hair, I'm falling out of the sky with this big heavy weapon, and I'm unleashing hell on your front lines, and I'm screaming all the way down because I was stupid enough to jump out of low orbit without a helmet and this big stupid heavy gun. So once I get the backpack on, everything it'll settle in and it'll look right. But basically that's it. That's simple converting, and that's what you should be doing with all your models. Taking parts from, I know not every army can do it, but taking parts from other kits and adding it to your model really helps. And it's a cool thing to do with Chaos and Loyalist or like Imperium stuff. It really helps your models. And now I don't know too much about, I know Dark Eldar's got lots of little things that the Cabalite Warriors and the Witch Elves have, and that you can add a little bling on here and there, swap it out, or maybe even take those parts, or from the Harlequin kits, and take those parts and add them to, say, Dire Avengers, or, the Storm Guardians. I've seen people take Storm Guardians and put on, like, not Witch Elves. Oh gosh, what are those things called? Harlequin heads, and they'll put them on the Guardian bodies with their swords and something else, and they make them Banshees because they don't like the fine cast Banshee models. So there's lots of little conversions that you can do, but just remember that doing those conversions enhance your models. Even if you're a fantastic like Golden Demon level painter, if you take that extra step with your models, just one extra step, somebody's going to notice. So I try to do more than just like a pouch and a head swap. So like these guys, I think only 3 of them are going to be on the flight stands, maybe 6 out of the 12 I'm going to be running. But the other 6 to 9 are going to actually be, I'm working on a couple bases, and you'll see that on Monday, for these guys to be either landing on or jumping from, or maybe they'll just be landing on the ground, and like these little, I don't even know what these things are, to be honest with you. I'll have to read the lore. I don't know what these little shock pads are. These little landing pads. I don't know. Because I don't even know what those are. I might end up clipping those off some of these guys, the ones that have landed. And I'm actually I've got a couple bodies of the intercessors that I'm looking at, seeing how to basically cut these arms off of his suppressors and at the shoulder off this model completely and putting them on the intercessor body. And if it works out great, then I will have a couple of guys that are landed on the ground from their grav chutes, even though these things still have the key fly word, and I'll work on that enhancement. So let's see, I'm a little bit, well, considerably over. Man, Leon, you need to get building and painting, dude. 140 Primaris Marines. Let's see here. I'm going to get caught up real quick. I'm not turning my back from you guys. I just want to see what everybody's saying. No, Leon, I haven't used the blue stuff for Instamold. People have been suggesting it to me, especially with me wanting to do a lot of conversion bits, and instead of me ordering pieces and bits, using Instamold to well, make some molds. And I have made some silicone molds before and tried recasting stuff for personal use, not for sale, but to no effect. I'm very bad at it, so I stopped doing it. There's a skull helmet, like a Roman or a Greek helmet for the Minotaurs. Not chief librarian, their ecclesiarch or their chaplain. It's a named character from Forge World. I can't think of his name. It's like a Mesopotamian name, but he has this hoplite style helmet with a crest and there's a skull on the inside. So I tried to recreate that. I failed, so I just ended up scouring eBay for those helmets. Let's see here. What else are you guys saying? Well, Tyler, if you go with Crimson Fists, they got that little boost in January. If you're able to get a hold of a White Dwarf from January, or even find like a digital copy online, or somebody took some pictures of this stuff, Crimson Fist got a pretty cool boost, especially with that bolter drill or the bolter rule that came out. I don't know too much about Red Talons, or Homebrew Iron Hands. For the longest time, I was against homebrew chapters, and that was a personal thing. I didn't care if you had it. I just wouldn't do it because I was always working on Deathwatch Marines because I really like Deathwatch. I like the whole commando feel that Deathwatch has. But now I don't care. I think if you're going to do it, you do it. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and just do one quick conversion because I'm already over and I started late. So let's go ahead and let's do another smoke grenade guy real quick here. This will be the last thing I do for the night. Next week I'll show you guys next Monday, possibly Sunday, but I'm going to be in Dallas over the weekend. So I might not be back in time, so I'll probably just do it, say, Monday. So I'm adding a little bit of glue here. Once again, trying to keep it going into the center, into the cavity there. So right there. So just going to hold that there. So while I'm in Dallas, I'll be working on some of these conversions and getting ready to do the painting. But I lost track of what I was saying. Oh, just go ahead and do your own chapters, man. I mean, if you got a great idea, knock it out of the park. I usually have tried in the past to stick to successor chapters, because if I go to a Games Workshop event, or a Games Workshop store, I want to be able to have their stuff, so I don't, I won't get not kicked out of the store, but asked to leave or something, because I have fantastic shoulder pads from like Pop Goes the Monkey, which is amazing 3D printer. So if you guys want a custom chapter, you can actually talk to him online and he will work with you on creating a custom chapter, and reasonably priced. He's got either shoulder pads or he's got knee pad stuff. I like his little mini icons so you don't have to buy a whole shoulder pad. You can just buy it's like 60 icons for $20. And all you have to do is just pop them off, glue them onto the shoulder pad, and you're done. It's probably the coolest thing that he's done. And I'm not getting paid to pimp him out or anything. It's just he's got some really quality stuff. Let's see here. Just double checking chat. Okay, so this is Smoke Grenade Guy. Here's a smoke grenade hand. I don't want to do smoke grenade hand. I really don't want to even do his bolter arm. So these two bad boys are going to go to my bits. So what I am going to do is I have already assigned a couple parts here. So yes, I realize that this means that he is going to look more like a reaver than he is not a suppressor, or it's going to look less like an infiltrator. So what I'm going to do is there's another lovely part. Actually, there's two loose bolters with on straps, basically. So here's one, and this goes to another model that I'm going to be butchering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut this out as neatly as possible, and that's going to be going over his arm. So he'll have that pistol there. So we're going to try, I'm probably going to screw this up, but we're going to, so I think, yeah, there we go. So we're just going to kind of like have to try to butcher this apart without putting too much pressure, because I don't want to, we're just going to have to do this. Nope, that's going, I'm going to have to work on this here, because this is going to be a bit of a pain. I feel like some people are probably watching going, man, I can't wait for John to cut himself, and we're going to laugh about it. Trying to make sure I show this here and not cut myself. So, yeah. All right, here. I think that's getting there. I have to be very, very careful here. Please be careful when you're using a hobby knife. Sometimes I'll put a Band-Aid already on my fingers here, so when I do put too much pressure on and I would have nicked myself, I'll have the Band-Aid already there, and that's what it's going to hit. It's not going to be hitting my finger, cutting into it. Now that does mean that, kind of like body armor or a blade of plating, that Band-Aid's going to run its course depending on how often I would have nicked myself. All right, so there we go. That wasn't too bad. So I'm going to scrape this out a little bit more, try to smooth that out. So there we go. That piece is gone. So what we're going to do is kind of try to dry fit here. We know that this arm is going to look like that. So what I'm going to do, really simply, almost like a Barbie doll type thing, is see how that fits on there, and then I'll be able to scoot that up. Sorry. All right, so we're going to do this. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to glue this on here, and we're going to make it work like Tim Gunn likes to say. So we're going to do that. Try not to let my finger get stuck on it. Now I'm looking at this, where that backpack bit sits. I'm going to have to be... So there we go. Managed to super glue myself to the model. All right. So this bit right here does not go on this model. That is my conversion for this model. So we're going to go and put the super glue on here, and we're going to let it overflow into there, so it helps seal that bond right there. And we are going to hope. So let's do this. All right, so something I should have taken into account is the piece not fitting on there great because the angle of that piece. So we're going to do this, because when I put that shoulder pad on, so let me get a little bit of super glue in here. When I put that backpack on, a lot of this is going to be covered up, but the great thing about this right here is now this is all glued. Sorry, I'm moving around too fast here. This is all glued and tucked away in there now, or it should be. It's trying to. Sorry about this here. Looks like I might have messed up that connection. We get some super glue in there. Alright, so there we go. So I got that pistol raised up a little bit there. I got the bolter draped over. I can tuck it away down here a little bit. I'm getting way too much super glue on there. Sorry about all this here. For some reason this super glue all of a sudden is drying way too fast. I'm really messing up this model. Well, this is why I've got those extra lieutenants, because I can, there we go. So what I'm going to do is, once all this is dry, I'll go in and clean up this plastic, all this extra super glue, and then I'm just going to run green stuff, simple green, not simple green. I'm going to run, green stuff, a little strap of green stuff right there, make it a strap, voila. So instead of using smoke grenade arm, I have now done it, instead of smoke grenade arm, bolter and a bolt pistol there, or a heavy bolt pistol. And instead of this bolter arm on his right side, we're going to have this knife right here. I'm going to have to cut off this little tab, but this combat arm will be right here. And for those that saw it earlier, this knife bit right here is the same arm that I used on that captain that I did. So you can see where I got it. Now you'll see there's the two connection points right here. That's where these hoses were connected to. So, but in this case, all we're going to do is just clip this off. We're going to smooth this out with my hobby knife. And double check over here. Yeah, this is going to require a little bit of work. I'm not sure what's going on here with this bonding process back here. It's a little effed up, so I'm going to have to think about that. Tinker with it. Maybe when I put the green stuff on there, it will it'll solve the whole issue. So let's go ahead and dab. And by dab, I mean super glue, not, dab. Yes, I just dabbed on the show. So just get some super glue on there. I figure like this guy, he's not going to have his knife out there. He's just ready. So if some bad guy comes by, he's got that knife ready. He's going to stab him in the face if the bolter, this heavy bolt pistol, does not do the job. Now, I realize that this is the heavy bolt pistol from the Reaver kit. I don't suspect people are going to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, can't believe you have that heavy bolt pistol on there. That model doesn't get it. You can't use it. I don't suspect they're going to say that. So here I am, drilling that hole right there. This is the case where I will probably now have to go remove some more suppressors from the eliminators, because I'm going to want this bolt pistol. There's the drill bit, or the hole. I'm going to want this pistol and the bolt rifle prepped for, or have the suppressor on it. I think it'll even look really cool. I don't know how practical it is, because I never, when I was in the military, I didn't run around with suppressors. And I've only used suppressors on a couple guns before, just, as a civilian shooting, not as a member in the military. I was not cool like that. So knowing that this piece is a little fragile, this bolter, I'm going to try to brace it a little bit. It looks like I need to cut that shave that down just a little bit, and I can feel that there's a lot of give in that bolter. So in hindsight, if I do this again, I'm going to drill out this hole first and make sure it's all cleaned up. I kind of skipped my process. I think I'm just a little tired. I've been here at work for 12 hours now, 12 and a half hours. Okay, so there we go. Holes drilled. That looks like both those are well in the center. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to drill a little bit more. You just have to watch how much pressure you're putting on. You don't want to put too much pressure because you could end up breaking your drill bit. I've done that many times. Many times I've pulled a drill bit right out of my finger. So not cool, let me tell you. All right, so bolt pistol drilled. Bolter drilled. Yeah, Leon, I know that, you know, the suppressors, you get a little bit of bullet drop. The way I look at these guys, as opposed to eliminators, these infiltrators, they're the ones that in the movies and stuff, or even in real life, their engagement is maybe within 50 meters. Where the eliminators, the guys with the heavy sniper rifles, who probably don't need the suppressors because their range is about double of the bolters. They need to be sitting in the back. They don't need the bullet drop or anything. So that's why I don't mind taking those off of there. Okay, so once again, so here's a good thing is once I got the hole there, you can see that's how deep that hole is. I got a little deep into that one, so I can see how far that is. I can kind of gauge. Now I can come over here with the same pin, so I can see it's about half that distance inside of there. So that gives me a little idea of how much I need to actually cut off. So now I'm going to have to get us, I think since I said I was going to use the pistols, this is the last thing I'm going to do, guys, and then I'm going to sign off for the night. And I really appreciate everybody that's getting on here and it's going to be watching the show. Please spread the word. It helps the channel out. It helps me out, especially as in the near future, Ski and I will be operating our own show. We'll still be part of FNP, doing FNP stuff, but it'll be shows like this. Ski's going to be doing a lot of, or mainly concentrating on Age of Sigmar. I'm going to be concentrating on hobby projects like this and small games like Arena Rex, Zone Raiders, the Batman miniature game. All right, so here I am drilling the hole. Now this is the main hole, the barrel, the aperture of the barrel. Here's the end that's going to go into the pistol. So when I'm not trying to be in the center or being all careful, I seem to be, it looks like it's almost instinctual, but when I'm trying to show the precise spot where you should be drilling, that I tend to mess that up. So you'll see me do a little bit and then pull the drill bit out and clean it up. That's so it doesn't get clogged up or anything, and I don't have anything left in there. So when I do that connection. All right, so I'm gonna try something a little different here. I'm gonna put just a dab of super glue there at the barrel. We're going to insert my pin. All right, a little bit. There we go. And let's make sure we get the right barrel end on here. All right. So once again, I'm a little off center there, but it's such a fraction that most people are not going to notice. They're not going to care. Gun enthusiasts may, or people that want to give me a hard time will. That's all right though. It happens. So once again, checking. Okay, so I need to do one more barrel. So what I'm going to do is I've got 5 more of these Scout sniper rifles. This is going to be the last one I do, and then we'll be done for the night. So I'm getting the flash or the little bits off the ends. So I'm going to drill out the barrel first. And I realize I should have asked my employee, Ronnie, to make sure that the door was locked to the building after he left. I hope he did. I'm assuming he did, but I'm kind of dreading that right now. But, you know, I've got year or 10 years of Marine Corps combat training. I got a knife here, and I can scream like a girl really, really loud. So I'm pretty sure I'm not in any danger. So here I am getting this barrel done. I'm not going to drill too far in because I already kind of gauged earlier how deep that bolter barrel was. So pin, I'm going to go ahead and drill a little bit more. Then I'm going to check chat here while the glue dries. And so let's go ahead and add a little bit there, just a drop. Push that in there. There we go. All right, so now that I got that on there, I know that I only need a little bit. Perfect. I hope. Add a little bit more super glue. Let's go to this barrel. Find my little notch that I like to. Oh, notch. All right, so this might end up being a little ridiculous looking, but so this guy likes suppressors. He's probably those of you that have been in the military. He's that guy that has lots of extra gear. He's the guy that goes, you know what, you never know if I'm going to be in a knife fight, and I'll be fighting for my life, and I'm going to need 5 or 6 different knives. You know, I've got my K-bar that they issue me, so now I need this folding knife, and then I need this switchblade. I need this little belt buckle knife. I'm not going to use the language, but they call them let's call them gear monkeys. They'd like to have lots and lots of gears, and the commandos are these Vanguard Marines. They look like they like to have lots of gear, and I've been adding that on. This is something I would have tried to cut off. This is no warrior is going to go into battle. Modern day warrior or even futuristic should be going into battle with this stuff. These extra little pieces of these charms, these flare pieces. Okay, so before I get sidetracked anymore, because I know it's late, so you can see double suppressor. This is actually kind of a heavy converted model because this bolter does not go on there. I'll show you that model next week. Actually, the only thing that's this model is the body. Everything on there is different parts. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kits on that body. Well, counting the body, 6 different kits. I'm not going to give him any extra pouches because that guy's got enough going on there. And he's got these handy dandy pouches right here on the top. So he's going to get an awesome skull helmet, I think, or yeah, we'll give him one of those awesome skull helmets. I'll bring those in for next time. But I think that's going to be it. What do you guys think of this guy? I think this guy actually might end up being pretty cool. A little ridiculous on the suppressors, but you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to put suppressors on everybody. I'm just going to I want this army to stand out. And since it's not chaos and I can get all crazy like my friend Kale does with his chaos stuff, I think I'm going to get a little ridiculous with these guys. So what do you guys think? Think that's cool? Think it's ridiculous? Yeah, I've fired the G36 Leon, also P90, which I love P90s. Oh, if I could get my hands on one of those, I would be in heaven. Also Barrett 50 cal, fired that several times, and even with a suppressor on it, I still had to wear double hearing protection. It was so loud. And also I set the grass on fire from even with the suppressor on. It was great. So all right, well, that was the first week, or not even the full first week. So Monday, what I'm going to show you guys is a couple more conversions that I've worked on over the weekend, some bases But I'm not going to be doing full bases until near the end, because when I paint models, I want to be able to paint the model fully without worrying about the bases. And I'll show you a couple more conversions and some green stuff on Monday, and that'll be it. Then next week, starting Monday, I'll get that first 500 points, so about 10, 16, 17, 18, about 18, 19 models should be, I will paint Monday through Friday. And like I said, I'll show you those, the batch painting techniques in groups of three, two groups of 3 and one group of 10. So yeah, let me check chat real quick. Awesome. Well, good luck, Leon, because I know you got 140 scorpion or salamanders to do. I wish I would have kept I had a 355 member Deathwatch army. I had every canon chapter. I had every chapter that had a chapter tactics. In 7th edition, I had an HQ choice for them. I had librarians for each of them, but I sold that army. And I'm glad I did, because I wasn't using it all, and somebody else is. So this is the part of the hobby that I like, is building, painting, converting, all that jazz, and then giving it or selling it to somebody else so they can do it or have fun with it. So yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I like them too, because they're ridiculous. I think that ridiculous nature is what's actually going to sell, not literally sell the army, because I'm not going to sell it. But I think it's going to help really, it's going to be that flair. So thanks Chris and Leon and everybody that made that suggestion, Tyler, about the plastic rods. I'm going to do it. We're going to add suppressors. Everybody's going to get a suppressor. And I'm going to make the real selling point are going to be these bases. I've got a couple of construction ideas I'm working on, but the bases I think are going to help sell the army too. I'll go over all the colors and bases and stuff later on next week. So watch for the show Monday. I don't have an employee here on Monday, so I have to wait till 9. But on that show, we're not going to be talking too much about construction. I won't be rattling off too much nonsense, and we'll be going straight to batch painting. Probably within the first, I'll probably start at about 15 minutes after the show starts. We'll go right into the batch painting, and we'll do that probably from 9 to about 10:30. So I wanted to show you guys some techniques. I want you guys to see that you can get a 2,000 point, and this is a 65 model army in 30 days. So I know you guys got a lot of GTs and tournaments and stuff coming up. I want you to see that you can do it. All right, so from FMP Wargamers, my name is John, and thank you for watching the show. Please continue to support us on Patreon. We got more of these type of videos coming up, and be better quality. I've got my IT girl. She's working on the overlay, and Ski and I is going to have a really cool show coming up real soon. So you guys get some sleep. I will see you Monday. All right, good night.